Well, good morning to you once again. Welcome to News Views on this Sunday morning. I'm Alan Kraszewski, and joining me today is Jeff Bezos. He's the founder of Amazon.com. Well, Jeff, it's great to have you here this morning.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
You know, you've been named, of course, Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 1999, the fourth youngest to receive this honor. You're 35 now, right? And of course, those that preceded you in that, Charles Lindbergh, Queen Elizabeth, I think, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is quite some collection of company to begin with.
Very humbling company.
I guess so. When did you find out, first of all?
I found out that it was a possibility a few weeks ago, and then I found out for sure just a couple of days ago.
And what's going through your mind when you realize that your face is plastered all over Time magazine covers?
Well, of course, it's exciting, and it's surprising, and it's not something that's normal. I had dinner with my parents to celebrate. My mom was crying. It's a special thing.
Now, Time's reasons for this, of course, are well documented, and they're saying, but there is an easy choice here. When you think of what's summed up 1999 in terms of economically, in terms of what's going on in the business world, there's no question that .com is it. And if they were to say, I guess they'd call you the king of .com. How do you react to that?
Well, we've got 5,000 kings of .com at Amazon.com, and you know, this really has been a huge effort over the last 5 years. We still have tons of work to do. I'd like to actually take a second to thank all of our customers here in Chicago. We've got a lot of them, and thank you. We're very grateful.
When you think back, now Amazon.com's been in existence for 5 years now, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before you quit your job on Wall Street, when did you have that light bulb moment when the big idea came to your mind that Amazon.com was the way to go?
The wake-up call was a very startling fact. I discovered that web usage was growing at 2,300% a year. And as I'm sure you know, things don't grow that fast. It's very unusual. So that's what sort of started the whole thing.
And then what specifically made you think, all right, I'm going to take that idea and put it into the notion of selling books over the internet? That was the original idea, I guess.
Yeah, we started out with books, and one of the key things about books is that there are so many books. We built a bookstore online that had millions of titles, and the largest physical bookstores only have about 150,000 titles. So you could build this extensive selection, and customers value that.
Now, of course, the company is doing exceptionally well as far as Wall Street's concerned. At the same time, from a profitability standpoint, it is not making any money. It's still in the red. How long can you afford to do this? And I'm talking about plowing the money back into the enterprise in the expansion that you need to do as a new growing company. How long can you afford to do that, and when do you think you're actually going to turn a profit?
Well, our plan is to continue to invest for the long term, and to do that as long as it seems to make sense. This is a critical category formation time. This is a time when new customers are coming online for the first time, and they keep asking us to invest in new areas. So we've expanded from books to toys and electronics and tools, and many more categories, video games and so on and so on. Each of these new stores, and we insist each time we build one of these new stores on having it be the best of breed customer experience. When we do that, it's an expensive investment. But we think that the alternative, which would be to try and optimize for short-term profitability, would be very short-sighted. So it's a conscious investment strategy, a conscious decision. We believe very passionately in it.
Is there any danger in trying to become all things to all people, rather than saying this was our original focus and we need to stick closely to it?
Well, we are very focused, but what we're very focused on is e-commerce and creating the best possible customer service, customer experience we can. The stuff we do, when we build technology, like we built our one-click shopping system, which people really like, that works just as well for toys as it does for books. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we have distribution centers which are highly mechanized and some of the most efficient distribution centers that can be built. And those things also work well for multiple product categories. Same thing with customer service. So a lot of this investment does serve multiple purposes for customers.
Well, I know as a consumer, we tend to think if we shop on the internet that there's some virtual company out there, you know, with virtual warehouses, but that's not the case. There have to be real warehouses with real product that is stored there, and I'm wondering if internet companies are perhaps becoming more like the brick and mortar outlets over time.
Good e-companies always had a significant sort of bricks and mortar component. This is one of the myths of e-commerce that, you know, Amazon.com is a little old-fashioned in this regard. We do believe you actually have to ship the things to
mm-hmm. I have to receive something.
We find the customers appreciate it more that way.
They like to get something.
So the website is very important, and you have to make sure that you're optimizing that for ease of use, We've spent a huge amount of effort making the website so that ordinary people can use it. Our customers aren't computer experts, but you can't forget about the back end, the customer service and the shipping and fulfillment.
I want to talk to you more about that after a short break, and we'll be back with more of Jeff Bezos on News Views in just a moment. Welcome back to News Views again. We're talking with Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com. We were talking about the brick and mortar outlets, and what I want to ask you is how your competitive edge has changed as more of those traditional brick and mortar stores jump themselves onto the internet to sell their products.
Well, these are really very different kinds of companies, and the set of skills and competencies you need to be a great physical retailer are very different from the set of skills you need to be a great e-commerce company. And we've been working on this for 5 years, and we're very comfortable that we're doing a better job for customers. And the way you do that is keep working on it every day, raising the bar every day. And there is no rest for the weary. So when you talk about competitors, you have to remember that you can't rest on the past. You have to continue to make things better and better and better. And if you can keep getting better, your competitors have to keep following you. That's the only way to succeed. No rest.
When you look, and again, this deals primarily with books and other physical items that you're selling here, but when you look at your research, do you still find that most of your customers are going out to a physical store location first, finding that item there, and then coming to you to buy it? And I realize there may be titles so that people don't need to do that, but are they doing that or no? Or are they coming right to you in the first place?
No, that's not most of the time customers come to us in the first place. They don't go to the store and find something and then come back to buy it because we have lower prices. They're just coming to Amazon.com right away.
Just because the convenience is right there in their home.
It's the three things. It's the selection, it's the convenience and ease of use, very important as you say, but it's also the fact that the prices are lower because we don't have the physical stores, which are very expensive compared to warehouses.
With all the developments going on right now with wireless technology, how do you see that changing what you're hoping to do in the years to come?
I think wireless is going to be a big deal. We just launched something called Amazon.com Anywhere that runs on Palm Pilots and also on Sprint PCS phones. And that's a technology where you can get your shopping done whether you're in a taxi or on a train, wherever you might be, sitting in an airport terminal. And we're so busy in the late 20th century that people really appreciate that kind of convenience. The 21st century looks to be shaping up to be even busier.
Do you think that all this technology, all these breakthroughs, is it truly making our lives easier, or do you think that actually we're becoming more anxious, that our time is more filled, that we're just simply trying to fit as many things as possible into the limited number of hours that we're awake each day?
Well, I think that's a great point. And I think while it probably has made our life easier, it's also made it more complex. So, you know, some of the things that had to get done, we can, in a fewer hours of work, we can get the same amount of things done that we used to be able to get done. But there seems to always be more stuff that needs to get done.
And there we need to find that balance as we head into the next century.
Absolutely.
Too. Back to the wireless technology. Do you ever see the point here? Of course, we have e-books out now.
Yes.
Some companies trying to work into that, where instead of selling, and I'm talking books again here,
yes.
but or it could be music or whatever. Instead of doing that, you're becoming more of an internet broadcaster, so to speak, in terms of sending e-books through wireless technology that people are reading, or do you not see that being a venture that you'd like to get into?
No, I think e-books is going to be a very big deal one day because it makes so much sense. The problem today is that the reading devices for electronic books aren't good enough. So it's not, you know, it's probably the generation before the generation that works well. But that will happen, and books will be distributed electronically, most books, and it'll be a good thing.
You'll be sitting there with your PDA or whatever it
Yeah.
is, your cell phone. I guess everything will come together there, of course, but and sitting there reading the book.
The display. It turns out that paper is just a great display device, and what we need is computer display devices that are as good as paper.
I tend to be wary of invasions of privacy here, and I want to ask you how you would respond to that. You know, as more people go online, and whether you give out your screen name or your phone number, your address, as soon as you do that, it doesn't take very long for somebody to collect all this information from a company standpoint. And I'm not talking about Amazon.com here necessarily, but any company, and say, oh, I want to collect all this information from potential customers. But from the consumer standpoint, we're wondering how much of this stuff do I really want to be giving out?
I think privacy is an incredibly important issue, and I think it's going to be even more important in the 21st century. People are going to be appropriately concerned about it. What companies who want to be able to use personal information to increase the benefits to the customer, as we do, you know, when you buy things from Amazon.com, as a repeat customer, when you come back, we use a technology called collaborative filtering to try and predict what things you might like to buy. And our customers love this feature. It's very valuable to them. But it does mean that we have a record of the things you've purchased in the past. And so what has to happen here is if companies are going to be able to serve customers that way, they have to somehow earn the trust of customers that they're not going to misuse that information. But I do think that all those issues are going to be complicated, and they'll have to be resolved, sometime in the next year.
Now, well, I know your company, Amazon, is already involved in an auction-type service of its own, in addition to many others, of course. But I have to wonder, at what point do you think that e-companies will be, in terms of their pricing, almost like bartering, where consumers will be able to go online through the search engines and whatever and say, I want to find the lowest price, and each company will be vying to sell their goods at the lowest price to the consumer?
Well, I think you may be able to keep a firm price structure, but it'll have to be the lowest price.
Well, yeah, but when that's determined by the minute, how do you respond?
And I think you will see more dynamic pricing, so it may not be necessarily bidding or haggling, because people don't really like to haggle. That's a waste of time, but they do like to get the lowest price. So there may be prices will get adjusted in real time. The great thing about the internet is balance of power shifts to the customer. And so companies that understand that and work within that framework will do well. But you can't fool customers into paying higher prices online. The lower price is just going to be a click away. And so good companies recognize that, act on it, figure out how to create real value for customers.
Well, it's very exciting. Jeff Bezos, good to have you here this morning. Congratulations on your honor as Time Man of the Year. And
thank you.
Wish you continued success.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's a very exciting industry. We look forward to having